Dear students and the future managers, professionals, welcome back to yet another video on the broad topic of group discussion as we are continuing a series on GD. Now today we take up a topic, it is titled Understanding a Group Discussion Assessment Rubric. Okay. Now participants can better perform and better prepare in fact to perform in a GD based on their prior knowledge of assessment rubrics. Now why so? They can better focus on the content and also their own communication skills, how to improve on them. Now also they can pay some attention, extra attention on their body language, how to behave properly, what will be their postures, gestures, everything. Now before going into the detailed contents about the rubrics of GD assessment, let us know what a GD rubric is all about. Now basically what a GD rubric is, it is a scoring guide, okay, and this is used to assess and evaluate the performance of individuals and also group as a whole. Okay, as I said, in a GD, the individual performance are evaluated, at times the entire group is also assessed, sometimes the group itself is eliminated or they are recommended to the next level. So what a GD rubric basically do is, it's a scoring guide that helps both the participants as well as the assessors. Now basically it outlines what? The specific criteria and the expectations from participants. It provides also a structured way how to assign different levels of grades to the participants and also give them feedbacks. Now fairly good, as I said, knowledge about GD rubric is important both for the recruiter as well as for the participants. Now for the recruiters, why it is so essential? In what way it helps the recruiter? Now to the recruiter, it will enable them to make a very effective assessment, right, or rather fair and transparency observing and providing them grades. That is the advantage, or that is why a rubric is normally used by the recruiters or assessors. Now participants, as I said, should have a understanding of the rubric content, okay, so that their assessment or while they are being assessed, they can be more careful about. Now this knowledge gives them a better understanding of what is expected of them and how their contribution is going to be assessed or evaluated. Now by understanding these key areas or key criteria elements, participants can focus on demonstrating those skills during the discussion and thereby will enhance their chances of being positively assessed. Now what is this GD assessment criteria that we find in normally a rubric? Okay, specific aspects that are evaluated or assessed could be content knowledge, communication skill, listening skills, teamwork, to mention a few. We will go into much more details later as we proceed. Now GD rubrics sets a performance criteria or level. Okay, it describes different levels of performance for each criterion, and they can use some scales, right, and they can also, according to the scale, they can grade the performance of individual participants. It can be highest, that is exemplary, proficient, developing, or beginners, that is the lowest. Or they can have also different other ways to assess or criteria. And rubrics, mind you, also use scales, for instance 1 to 5 or 1 to 10, okay, for each criterion, and with the highest score which will indicate the best performance, and as you go down obviously you are performing less and less. So criterion like, let's say, clarity of expression, one of the criteria which the GD people, recruiters will try to assess in the participants. Okay. Now these scores could be like this. One will be given to those participants who poorly perform. For instance, in the respect of clarity or expressions, suppose the speech is very difficult to understand and the candidate is taking frequent pause, unclear phrases, so obviously he or she will be rated as poor. Now slightly better performance will be given as average, right? And in this case what happened? The speech is generally understandable, but there may be some pause here and there, using little bit unclear phrases, not to that extent who is the poor fellow is performing or assessed. And then the best performers will be assessed as excellent. Their speech is very clear, it's concise and also very easy to understand. This way, the rubrics are used by the recruiters to assess candidates' performance. Now let us go into some of the more common evaluation criteria that finds place in a GD rubric. Okay. First one is this understanding of the topic. How well the participant understands or grasps the topic. When the participant demonstrates a clear understanding of the topic being discussed, okay, then he or she will be rated high. So they will try to assess whether the participant demonstrate a clear understanding of the topic or not. For example, the candidate should be able to differentiate between balance of trade and balance of payment. Now the two concepts are though closely related, but then they are not synonymous. They don't mean the very same thing. Okay. So whether the candidate is able to differentiate or interchangeably using the way, in place of balance of trade is using balance of payment or vice versa. So that reflects whether the candidate understands the topic very well or not, and accordingly they will be assessed. Next is relevance of contribution. Okay. Are the points made by the participant relevant to the discussion? Let's take an example here. If the topic of GD is on the recent reciprocal tariff which the US government has imposed on many countries and particularly in case of India, right? The participants should not be talking about domestic GST collections, income tax, progressive income tax, tax deduction at source. Okay. Now these are not related because the topic is something different. So how relevant the contribution of the participant, that also matters a great deal. So one has to be very careful about. Third is this communication skill, and what are the assessment criteria here? Is the participant's speech very fluent, easy to understand? Okay. Does the participants use appropriate formal vocabulary? Okay. Or he is using informal languages in a formal context. Okay. Is he using such disrespectful phrases like, hey, that's a stupid idea? Fellow participants, you are absolutely wrong, raising fingers. So these one should be avoiding altogether, right? Instead one can use, I don't entirely agree with you that, because you can state the reasons. Now also they will try to assess as a part of the GD assessment rubric, how appropriately or how properly you are able to maintain eye contacts with your fellow participants. Next, about your body posture, your gestures, right? The performance will accordingly be rated high or low. Next is teamwork and interaction. How effectively you are interacting with the other fellow participants. Are you effectively interacting, or you are remaining isolated, calm and quiet, non-participatory? Okay. So they will be assessing as a part of the rubric. Okay, it's mentioned there, and there also it is scaled how effectively you are interacting. Okay, and whether the participants actively participate in the discussion and contributing to the conversation. Accordingly, you will be getting your grades or ratings. Whether you are actively listening to, whether you are asking questions when required, whether you are also building your others' idea, building your own idea based on what someone has said. Are you adding to that? Are you disagreeing politely? Does the participant treat other participants with respect, even if he or she is not holding the same opinion? Okay, it's not necessary that you will also be always agreeing to the other's opinion. You are always free to differ, disagree, but how effectively you are doing it? Are you flexing your muscle? Are you threatening other participants, or you are doing it very politely? That will also be assessed. That's part of communication. Next is, does the participant demonstrate leadership qualities? Because in a GD, this is a very important criteria your recruiters will try to assess. Okay, are you taking lead? Okay, will you be able to lead a team if you are given a team to work with? So, leadership qualities can be assessed. For instance, they will be assessing, is the candidate initiating the discussion? Is he guiding the discussion in the correct way? Is he or she participating actively in the discussion phase? As I told you, there are 3 phases of a GD: initiation phase, discussion phase, and the summary phase. So, is the candidate, participating actively and showing some leadership qualities in all the 3 segments? Sometimes, there could be some conflict, and the recruiters will be trying to assess whether the candidate is, trying to resolve any conflict that is emerging. And finally, as I said, whether he is also taking the responsibility of summarizing the, GD at the end. As I said earlier in the other short videos, every GD should normally have a summary, even if they don't have a conclusions. Then attitude and behavior is another important criteria which is assessed as a part of the GD assessment rubric. It will find place in. Okay. Then what it refers to? Attitude and behavior. Does the participant project confidence, composure during discussion, or he is shaky, very nervous, confused? Accordingly, you will be getting ratings. Does the participants show genuine interest and enthusiasm? Because interest and enthusiasm, it will be reflected in your voice, the way you interact. Okay. So, this aspect is also equally important part of the rubric. Does the participant manage time effectively? Time management very essential. So, every recruiter wants its future professionals or manager or whatever grades they are offering, should be able to, economize or perform within the time specified. Okay. So, he or she should be, in the course of the GD, if the GD is not getting completed within the time allotted, then obviously it is going against the group. So, as a member of the participant of the group, you should be always particular about, guiding the entire group to complete the discussion within the allotted time. So, what is expected? As a participant, you should be reminding members about time allotted for the GD and not to speak too long individually. Now, So what we have seen is these are all very important, segments or importance or rather content of a GD rubric which the recruiters use to assess the performance of participants. So whatever we discussed so far, you can put them into two groups. One is the individual qualities they try to improve, the other one is group skills. Now, what are the individual qualities? Clarity, content, confidence, logical ideas, creativity, the communication skills, as I said earlier, ability to present them in an organized way, the sequence, how effectively you reveal your reasoning skills, whether you are logical or you are arguing, very rudely. Group skills could include, your listening skills, right? Are you listening to everyone or you are arguing with each and every member? Leadership quality, I said, this is also another group skill. Body language, your own body language, whether you are remaining calm, composed, your posture, you're sitting straight, are you maintaining eye contact or looking here and there to the skies? Mutual respect, are you able to, respect others? Are you extending cooperation? Or you are frequently taking up a fight, confrontation attitude with others? Persuasiveness, this is another group skill. Okay, adaptability, initiative, as I said. So all these, both the categories, that is individual qualities as well as group skills, they will be probing, and all these will be mentioned in the rubric, and the recruiters will be assessing you on each of these criteria and giving you grades. So dear students, to succeed in a GD, it's about more than just speaking, mind you. It is about contributing meaningfully to the conversation, respecting others, working towards a logical end, not a chaotic end, right? With some knowledge of GD assessment rubric, you should be able to perform better than others. Okay? Now I think with this, you can revisit whatever I discussed, okay, one go and do. So you are now, I feel, one step closer to your dream job. Okay, thank you. I stop it here today. Next, we'll go into yet another topic. Okay, as you know, GD is a very essential, step in the entire selection process. Okay, now as a fresher, you must be knowing, or rather be aware of all these integrities or all these do's and don'ts in order to perform better. Thank you. We'll meet again.